gifted with a very particular set of skills. The ability to change my hair on a whim, my hilarious Christmas cracker jokes, my talent for breaking games. But my greatest gift is one I so rarely get to flex. You see, I am very good at rhythm games. And Kingdom Hearts, a franchise I have on occasion touted as only being played by people who are in so deep they can't get out, has sought to reel me in with their own rhythm game called Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. And I gotta say, it worked. Melody of Memory retells the events of the games up to Kingdom Hearts 3 through Kairi's narration. The meat of this experience is in the World Tour, where each level is set to a different song from the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack. Now, this is one of those games that sounds more complicated than it actually is when you try and explain it, but basically, in teams of 3, you run along a path and have to hit the buttons on the screen in the right order at the right time to match the beat of the music. You control your team with 3 buttons that you can flick between, depending on whose turn is coming up first. Things start off fairly easy and slowly amp up in both difficulty and complexity as new enemies are introduced, and you have to learn to pull off more fast-paced maneuvers to hit those timely beats. Each level comes with a set of goals to meet, like not using healing items, getting through with a certain amount of health, or hitting a target number of enemies. These are rewarded with stars that go towards unlocking more levels and continuing the story. It is worth mentioning that though the sheer amount of levels on the map may be daunting, there are diverging paths you can take. So you don't have to play through every level unless you really want to bop out. And the majority are absolute bops. Aside from the orchestral tracks, which I adored, there's also plenty of Disney songs from Peter Pan, Little Mermaid, Hercules, and my personal favourite, Nightmare Before Christmas. There were definitely a few tracks here and there that I just wasn't vibing with, but those were mostly just down to the songs themselves rather than how they played. My only issue gameplay-wise came up during boss fights. During these bits, you've got a scene playing out behind you, which is really distracting while you're trying to keep track of those buttons and commands zipping past you. I want to see the action, but if I look away for more than a second, we're in some trouble. Despite its sheer size, I will say Melody of Memory isn't the deepest of rhythm games and doesn't extend far beyond just time button mashing. There's also a few extra additions that, for me at least, mostly went unused. You level up your teams to increase their defense and strength, but this doesn't really have any noticeable bearing in game. There's items you can craft and equip to help you out, but you can almost skip this process entirely unless you're really struggling. There's also a synthesize section that lets you create additional songs and collector's cards, but again, this has no bearing on the actual gameplay. I'd imagine that for real die-hard Kingdom Hearts fans though, these are at least familiar elements that really play into that cool nostalgia that Melody of Memory is going for, and I can appreciate that, even if it's not for me. For those big-time fans though, I would suggest checking out the museum to revisit those cherished moments from past games. And if that's not enough, you can also play in co-op mode or go head-to-head in battle mode. While Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory is certainly not short on content, you wouldn't be incorrect to say it's not doing anything particularly groundbreaking or adding much to the rhythm game genre as a whole. But at the same time, why does it need to? More than anything, this is a fun, fresh way for fans to revisit the franchise. And it may have even convinced me to do a little lore reading myself, so well played, Melody of Memory. I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5 rabbit chickens.